Welcome to episode number 2 of the Gilson Brothers podcast.
So yeah, we wanted to talk a little bit about why working sucks. I think working really sucks.
Why employment in general, I think, it sort of sucks. It's not for everybody. I don't want to say it necessarily. I don't want to say it sucks, but I do want to say, like, there's some people that, like, people like us who are like, dude, there's got to be more to this life than just spending 40 hours a week working for somebody else, making them completely rich. I think that within itself is completely mind-blowing, you know, to not have the drive to be like, dude, I want to be where they're at. I want to be able to not trade time for money all the time and miss valuable time that you can never get back. Time is something that's irreplaceable.
I know. And for me, dude, I hate being in a 9-to-5 trap. And like, dude, not to say there's bigger eyes or little U's. Like, we're no better than anybody else. Like, literally anybody has the capability to find something that they're passionate about and like trying to monetize it. I think that's like the life goal, to find something that you really are passionate about and being able to like, all right, how can I get paid doing this? Like, it seems like the two shouldn't be together, but like, dude, that's like a cheat code. So for me, JT said I got bit by the business bug. And what that means is like, dude, I finally know what it's like to finally be able to monetize something and, you know, not go to a certain job, clock in for my hours, like to be able to take the camera, go out there and get a job, film it, edit it, get paid for it. And then like, all right, bam, I just got like a week's pay for, you know, doing something on my time. Where as if, you know, compared to like before, I would be working. Dude, I'm factoried out, man. I've tried everything that I thought that was going to be my career, man. I've tried working in a factory, the potato factory at Sturman Monsters, man. And, dude, it sucks being stuck in that 9-to-5 trap, man. It seems like time just goes by. You fucking work your ass off. You barely, now you get paid. Don't get me wrong. It's not like you're not getting paid, but like, dude, everything's going up. Everything's expensive. They're like, dude, next thing you know, you're decades in and you're fucking like, our brother Bob, I hate to say it, not to put him on Front Street or anything, but like, he's happy, he's a family man. I just feel like working at the same spot for like multiple, like, dude, 10, 20 years.
The thing that drives me nuts, right, is like, you're talking about how like prices are going up, and it's like, jobs don't reflect that, I don't think, right? Like, and I mean, like, I know some do, you know, they'll do it, but it's like, they're like always behind the ball. They're like 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Out of nowhere, like, oh, we're gonna give these guys $1 raise. Like, thanks. The fuck? You know what I mean? Like, so now you thought it was okay that I was struggling like a maniac for 3 years, and you as a business owner on the flip side of the market is getting more money? Like, fuck you too. You know what I mean? Like, that makes no sense to me. And I feel like when you own your own business, like, you can adjust to situations like that. Like, you're thinking like, dude, you know what? My supplies I need to do this job are getting more expensive. And that applies to every business. You know what I mean? Like construction, like you know, price of lumber going up. You're like, I got to start charging more to do somebody's deck. I just think it's insane that like jobs are so far behind with like the inflation. It's just like, we're struggling hard because of inflation's going up, and you're just like, we might give you 50 cents raise.
You know what really messed me up, bro? When I was working at the potato factory, man, it was the first actual, you know, I was getting in trouble for a while. I couldn't maintain it. I was unemployable, bro. I couldn't maintain a job. So being able to work at the potato factory, I learned so much, man. I went in there at a temp agency. I finally got hired on. By the time I would always get hired on somewhere else, I'd be like throwing my life away and like completely fucked up on drugs that like there was no hiring me. You know what I mean? So I couldn't last that long in society. But like, working at the potato factory, bro, I started off like on the line, just throwing potatoes in a bag. And next thing you know, I'm like a machine operator. Next thing you know, I don't stop there. I, just like you did, learned a completely different language in Spanish because there was a language barrier. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I started learning the forklift. I started literally learning the inventory system. Like, I knew everything in that factory, man. And I busted my hump for a year, man. And I remember when they called me in for my yearly review, and I was expecting, you know, a lot of money raised, because like, dude, the stuff that I was doing and like the amount of loyalty and the amount of like effort that I was putting into this job, I was expecting to get like a crazy raise, man. And they gave me a quarter. Like, they looked me in the eye, said, I wish I can give you more, but like all we can do is give you 25 cents. And ever since then, like, I've lost like the entire spark of like, I felt like an idiot, like really pushing it to the limit for a company, like making, they're always big on numbers and production and like graphs and like, you know, score systems and like quotas and all that shit, man. And it's like, for what, bro? And it's like, because people get stuck in this trap of like, bills. Dude, bills suck.
Sir, your electric bill is due today. Fuck. And like me as a gamer, I'm like, oh, dude, no, I can't get the new COD map. It's like stupid shit
Yeah.
too. It's like, oh, but I feel like it's certain people will hear us say something like this and be like, oh, well, you know, good for you. You're good at that. I have nothing that I could really apply that to. And it's just like, I can't agree, right? Because like you take, everybody has something that they like to do, right? You take what you like to do and you're like, how can I monetize this? And there's more windows of monetization than you would think, right? So, all right, so Jackie, for example, she loves kids. I'm like, why don't you open a fucking daycare? It's too hard. And that's the thing. It's too hard. I'm scared. Or people, what if people don't do it? All these fucking what ifs, bro. I'm like, we are the first to know that what if is not the question to ask yourself. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you got to fucking do it. You know what I mean? So like, let's say you were a really good athlete in school. Like, this is a really good point. You were a good basketball player. You, Jimmy, were a good basketball player back when you were younger. And it's just like, having something just on the side, having a little like a summer program you could do. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like a training, like a boot camp. You know what I mean? That'd be sick. And you can incorporate some of the fitness aspects of being in boot camp. You know what I mean? It would feel like a militarized basketball thing. It's like crazy to say something like that, but like we both went to the same boot camp. But I feel like the things that we learned, like discipline wise in boot camp, that's something that carried over, even though we got in trouble a bit afterwards. Fuck, who cares, dude? But the things that carry over from that discipline, like, are still ingrained in us. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm so glad I went there.
Yeah, I do my laundry, but I never fold it. You know,
I roll it.
I roll my fucking laundry. Yo, I remember when, dude, the drill sergeant would come over and they'll grab like your shirt and like they'll try and see if like the roll at the end of your shirt. Only boot camp people, only boot camp people are gonna know what we're fucking talking about right now with rolling the clothes, right? They'll take that shit and they'll be like,
there was a certain circular pattern that had to look nice. There was a certain amount of flush that had to look nice. It had to be completely rolled on point, not overlapping. It was crazy.
Dude, it was nuts. So the amount of shirts that you can fit in one drawer is astronomical.
Yeah.
It was nuts, dude.
But back to your saying about like, dude, there's anything, bro. Like no matter what it is, like, dude, there's people that like, you know, there's always going to come up with excuses. You know what I mean? There is a way to monetize stuff, man. And like, even with the video stuff, like we were saying, like, some jobs we get paid a lot and some jobs we barely don't get paid. And then there's some jobs that we don't even get paid, but like, there's always networking, there's experience. Like, dude, we're putting in the work and, we're trying to find a way to monetize it. And like, we have that drive. So like, if you think that like, yo, opening up a business is going to be too hard. That industry is too saturated. There's going to be a lot of competition out there. I don't have the time. There's nothing wrong with that. You're right. But at the same time, if you're trying to start a business and you're like, you know what? No matter how saturated it is, I'm going to put my footprint in it. I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to show up and I'm going to get these clients and I'm going to make sure I stand out. You're absolutely right too. It's a complete shift. Like there's nothing wrong with either or, but like, you know what I mean? Like when we're trying to get out of this 9-to-5 trap, we got to put that work in and we got to sacrifice our time. We got to be obsessed with this thing because I don't want to spend my whole life doing something that I don't want to do. I've already done that with drugs. I've already done that with getting in trouble, but I am not trying to just like clock in and be on somebody else's mission for the rest of my life, man.
There's two things I got to say about what you just said, right? And these are really good points, right? You said that they're worried about being an oversaturation of people doing what they do, right? And also trying to figure out how to be different, right? All you can do as a person is come up with excuses on why that's not going to work out. And those are two of the big ones, right? But you have an answer right in front of your face. One of the biggest separating factor that you have, no matter what business you're in, is your personality. Mm-hmm. Your personality is the biggest separation factor that you have to anybody else, right? So like it does apply to everything. It's just like, oh, why should I go with that photographer or videographer? Or why should I go with that guy to install carpets, right? Right. And that's why like I love this video stuff because I know that, right? So like when you have videos that really show your personality, that personality that they see that you're portraying builds relatability, right? Especially if you're relatable. They're like, yo, I like him. Like it feels like they know you, right? And everybody is always trying to do things for their friends, right? Video is the best way to look like somebody's friend. You know what I mean? It just shows character and that's your big separation factor, right? And people get it twisted, right? They always think, oh, when I think about my separation factors, like let's say a carpenter, like somebody who puts carpets in or some shit, right? They're like, I just do a really good job of putting carpets in. Like, okay, well, fucking good for you. Like, that's cool and all, but like, so does the other guy. You know what I mean? So like, you have to like really get out of the box and realize, like, dude, my personality is a weapon. You know what I mean? And the other thing that you were saying is like with the oversaturation of people that are doing it, right? That's also an excuse, right? And that's a really big way I was looking at it too for a while there. And just recently, I was thinking to myself, like, that's not relevant, because it's like when you look at like something like YouTube, right? Like Joe Rogan, like for the podcast stuff, right? This is why I'm thinking like, okay, there's an oversaturation on YouTube and everything with podcasts, but that doesn't matter, because like Joe Rogan's a podcaster and they also have other people that are podcasters. They also have other people that are podcasters, right? Go on Spotify and go in the podcast section. I guarantee you're going to see a name you don't know, but when you click on it, you're like, holy shit. 1.7 million monthly listeners. You're like, okay, so like stop limiting yourself, stop being a coward by saying somebody else already does that. Well, be another one who already does it too.
That's how I felt with the music too. You know how depressing it was knowing, like, dude, studying music and hearing all types of different sounds, different punchlines, different bars, different double entendres, and being like, dude, I can't say that because they already did. Dude, if that was the case, I wouldn't be able to rap about anything. You know what I mean? And that goes with all areas. Like, dude, there's gonna be people doing it no matter what. There's gonna be people improving, and there's gonna be a lot of people that are trying to do the same thing that you are. But you know what? That is not gonna stop me from attempting it, because I have one life to live, and it's like that's something I enjoy doing. Who cares? Like, I even sent you that thing joking around, like kind of joking around, but at the end of the day, it's like I struggle with that too, but I push through it. Like the T102 Sports thing, I'm like, all right, here we go. Now we got T102 Sports opening up now. They just started a Facebook page and probably an Instagram too.
That's what you sent me? That was a sport page?
Yeah, and like I looked at some of the reels, and they're going around, they're like interviewing like football players on the high school teams, and like they're gonna be having like podcasts and other stuff. I'm like, all right, here we go. Now one half of my brain is like, dude, now how am I supposed to compete with that? It's bad enough like we have all these, like, not to say that it's bad, but like, you know, when we have a bunch of videographers going to a game and catching it, it's like, all right, bam, we got to get this out in a timely manner. It's like, it's a little rat race. You know what I mean? I have to make sure we're not doing the same things, that we're like editing differently, because we can't have two of the same product out there. Respect to that videographer, respect to that videographer, but like we need to go in there and, you know, just be confident in our ability. But I say all that to be like, the half of my brain struggles. Like, you know, half of my brain tells me bullshit, the other half buys it. And it's up to me to like make sure I have a good mindset. And that's why I have a strong support group. But like, dude, just because they're doing it doesn't mean it's going to stop me. And yo, come on, man.
I fucking
Good timing, huh?
Right? Good timing is every time.
Back to scheduled programming. You know what I mean? So like when it comes to you personally, now we fight with this. We're both in different situations right now. I'm a minimalist when it comes to my overhead, right? I don't have a car payment. I have a roommate. We split rent and bills, which helps. Obviously you do too, in a sense. I don't have a lot of things that, you know, I have more flexibility to not have to be dependent on a 9-to-5 job and to be able to put at least 40 weeks in. Like I have the flexibility to do a couple jobs, pay my rent. And like, dude, I'm not making a lot of money right now, but like what I lost in money, I gained in freedom. And it's like, dude, like thinking about like trying to like apply for a job, thinking about trying to find a job. Like I might get a part-time gig, because I'd rather, you know, I do the recovery house thing on the side. But when it comes to like having like stable income, I don't have it. I am completely in the water right now. It's like sink or swim when it comes to the business. And you have an asset when it comes to like your shift, and like right now kind of like the flexibility you have of being able to like edit while, you know, you have some downtime at your job, which is cool. But so what are some of your biggest like what are some things that are holding you down from taking the leap of like doing this full time?
Literally my overhead. And I can't say this enough, right? And having all these luxurious, I hate to mention it like that, but having all these good things in life that you like your car, right? Your car payment. Like, yes, I have a reliable car, but now I'm enslaved to that debt. You know what I mean? So like Robert Kiyosaki wrote a Rich Dad Poor Dad book. I fucking love that book, but I'm very mad at myself that I didn't take a lot of that stuff seriously, right? Like I understood, I digested what he was saying, but I'm not applying it to my life. And one of the biggest things that he mentions is there's good debt and there's bad debt. There's liabilities and there's assets, right? Having a car payment, even having a house payment are liabilities, right? And people argue with this left and right. No, you need your car, you need a house to live, and you know all this stuff, right? But leveraging your assets, leveraging this debt from liability to asset is completely doable, right? Like, yeah, of course we all need a place to live. Like I get that. But the car thing, man, like the car thing, I'm like disgusted because now my overhead has increased, and it's like now I have to be enslaved to time to make sure that overhead's paid for all the time, right? So and it's sad because like as humans, right? Everyday society, we get like a new job and it's just like, okay, cool. This job pays a bit more than my last one. Oh, I'm starting to get raises. I'm starting to get promotions. It's a part of an everyday thing for everybody, right? And it's sad because it's like you get this weird sense of like, ooh, I could afford to get this now. Ooh, I could afford to get that now. And it's just like now out of nowhere, you just went and financed something else. You're like, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? Like that shit, it shit makes no sense. And it's like you tend to put yourself in this mental space where you're like explaining to yourself, you're justifying these crazy purchases. You're like, yeah, well, I mean, you only live once. You only live once. It's like, dude, step up, step back and think to yourself and realize what you're saying. You only live once. And the biggest thing we don't get back is time. Now, when you think about financing, you should be thinking about time because that's what it's taking right now as a consumer, as somebody who's employed. The way you're paying for these things and it needs time.
Trade for time for that crazy hourly wage. And like, dude, that's one thing that I found out when I was working in Silver Pines or when I was working anywhere where I was like working consistently. I knew what my hours were going to be that week, and then I had the option for overtime. Like, dude, I did not budget my money well. Why? Because I knew I had a check coming up. So like whenever I would get a check, I would blow some money on some shirts. I would go get this. I would go get that. I would order this. And I see you go through it too. It's like once you get like a paycheck, it's like, all right, bam, what can I order? Which, dude, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's hard to get out of that mentality, man, of just like, you know what, spend it if you got it. And like, it's hard to save money for me personally. But like when I'm not working right now and like when I get a job and I sign a job and I get paid for it and I like do the videos and stuff, like I have this amount of money now. It's like, dude, I'm not thinking about like blowing it. Like, all right, I got to stretch this out a little bit. So it's been like, I've been learning some budgeting lessons from it. But man, it's hard to get out of that cycle, man.
It's sad because that situation is what instills way more fear into starting a business. Like, because you think about not only are people gonna buy my product or service, you're also thinking about, damn, dude, if I try doing this full time, am I gonna be able to afford my overhead? And that's where shit gets real. That's where shit becomes like a huge blockade. And I feel like that's why people are like, you know what? I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it, right? And like I put myself in that mental situation like a lot. Even now, sometimes I'm like, dude, there's no way I'm gonna sit here and even mess with that because I'm not gonna be able to pay off my shit and all this stuff. It's crazy what your own brain can do to you, right? But the best way to look at your money when you're looking at a big purchase is think to yourself, can I pay this all off right now, right? Don't even think about financing, right? And that should be your first layer of yes or no, right? Can I pay this off completely right now? If no, back off, right? Your second layer is if I can afford to pay for this right now, can I pay for it twice? If you can't pay for it twice, back off.
You know what I fear the most right now is having the experience. You ever get sucked into a job so bad that like, dude, I don't want my like everything floating in my head to be work related. Like that's on somebody else's like mission. Like basically working at Silver Pines. Like when I left Silver Pines and I stopped working there, I had no idea how engulfed I was in some almost fantasy land. Like I was almost living in fantasy land at this place because I was so engulfed in their mission, the clients that were there, the groups that were there, and like just basically working there. Even in factory stuff, the potato factory, I was completely engulfed in the potato factory, the machines, the forklifts, the Dominicans, like speaking Spanish, and like almost another fantasy land. And like I don't want to be like completely in that cycle anymore.
So what I feel like happens, right, is you're diverting a lot of your energy. You need to focus on something else, like for yourself, on something that's not at all integral in your future. You know what I'm saying? And like that's why it goes back to the whole like I can't look at working for somebody. Like I cringe every time I go into my job and you got these retailers. Oh, how's it going? Nice weather.
I can't do another job that doesn't align with my purpose, man. I've tried like just recently with the CRS stuff, man. Like I thought it was gonna be aligned with my purpose because me, as people know, I'm in recovery. You know what I mean? I work a 12-step program, and I have a side gig managing recovery house, and that helps me because like, dude, I don't have to think too much about it. I have experience doing that. I've experienced living in one, and I'm going there and I'm talking about my experience, strength, and hope, and like kind of like using some leadership skills to try to make sure like not everyone's going crazy and like treating it like a trap house, and with the CRS stuff, man, I felt like it was more distracting.
So yeah, with that being said,
No more 9 to 5.
no more 9 to 5. If you're thinking about doing anything, right, take something that you absolutely love and try and figure out ways to monetize that, right? Sort of like what I was saying before, right? If you love animals, dude, start your own animal shelter or dog walking, or I mean, as stupid as it sounds, there's people that do it all the time. There's dog groomers and shit out there. You know what I'm saying? If you find something you love, find a way to monetize it, because I guarantee you there is always a way to monetize doing what you love. And I think we're going to end the podcast on that note. Don't give up on yourself. Just keep on pushing for whatever you want to do with your life. And we'll see you guys on the next one.